YouTube, welcome back to Guido's Chop Shop, second best gel blaster channel on the tubes. And tonight on the bench here we have the MK Tactical CNC aluminium gearbox. And what I'm going to do tonight is just have a look at it, tell you what my thoughts are, just have a bit of a poke and a prod, see what's up with this thing. Now, this gearbox is Australian made. It is an Australian made CNC gearbox for gel blasters. Now, its design, I guess, is borrowed from the V2 type AEG gearboxes. However, certain things have definitely been changed in order to make this more suitable for gel blasters. If you've watched my APS gearbox series, trying to get that into the wells, you'll know the struggles of trying to fit AEG box into a gel blaster. Now, one of the first things that I checked when I opened this box up was the rails. Have the rails been machined short? Yes, they have. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that was like the bane of my existence, just shortening those rails. How cool is this? It is a really, really nice CNC'd bit of gear. Now, I have seen people complaining because they can see the tool paths, but I think that's cool. I think that looks awesome. And I mean, it's not like that's rough. The camera kind of is deceptive, the way that's like silky smooth. But yeah, you can just see the tool paths on it. I think that's cool. Yeah, some people aren't into that, but I do think that's cool. Hell, if it bothered you that much, you could polish it, but what is the point? It's for naught. Did I mention this is Australian made? This is Australian made. This is the only gearbox for any type of blaster that is Australian made, as far as I'm aware. Like, I don't know of anything else that's out there that's Australian made. So, I mean, that in itself is worth a look, because support local. Also, if you're trying to import something like this from overseas, chances are you're not going to get it, because it'll probably get seized because of its likeness to airsoft parts. And I know that, yeah, look, made in Australia, already in Australia, don't have to worry about importing them, don't have to worry about all that sort of stuff, so that's cool. I like that already. It comes with a couple of other little pieces. These are obviously for attaching the mag terminals on, and they sit in there beautifully. It all sits in there nice. That's obviously, I think that's for the wells, and this one is for the Gen 9. I think that's the understanding I have. Just from looking at the spacing of the mag terminals, gives me that idea. If you're familiar with either of those blasters, you would know that. Now, I'll be honest, when I first saw this, my first thoughts were, oh great, someone's copied a V2 gearbox. And I think maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong on that one. It seems that there has been actually a fair bit of thought put into this box to make it not just another V2 box. Any other box that you buy on the market that is a V2 box will be straight up a V2 box. You'll have to do these modifications to get it to work in a gel blaster properly. So it's refreshing to see that someone's taken the time and put the effort in to make this with the correct dimensions. So like you can see with this tappet plate, the travel of that tappet plate. Like I don't even have to measure it, but I can tell you that's enough to facilitate feeding of a gel ball, not the standard 6mm or 7mm travel that most AEG V2 boxes have, being that they're trying to load a 6mm projectile, not a 7.5mm. Another thing which is notable as well, not only have they brought back the rail here to allow that to go all the way back. On a standard AEG box, it would only come back as far as the cylinder head, which would be there. So this allows you to come all the way back there. They've also added an extra relief in the front of the gearbox. So standard AEG movement is between there and there. That's how much the tappet plate will move. With this box, the way they've made it, you can go all the way back there and further forward as well. I don't know if you can see that easily, but just here there is actually a relief machined out of the front of the gearbox to allow that tappet plate to come fully forward and fully back. Now the reason they do that, well, the reason you have to do that, remove that section there, is because like take the Wells cylinder for example, which is as close to a V2 gel blastery type thing that you get. You see the cylinder, focus, you see the cylinder actually stops short of going all the way forward to where the gearbox is. You've got that few millimeters there of space. So when the tappet plate comes all the way back in here, this is not the right tappet plate for this by the way, but when it comes back flush against the front of that cylinder, in this case it would be coming back further. So they've relieved that in anticipation for that, so the tappet plate came back. That's refreshing in itself. That's my biggest gripe of all V2 gearboxes, is that rail right there. With that rail it makes gel ball feeding next to impossible. I mean it'll work, but not very well. That's the thing. I mean, aside from that, that's my favorite feature right there. There's a lot of other things that they've done in the design of this box. You notice that this is round in the front here, whereas most V2s are squarish. That's designed like that on purpose to make it easier to fit into a gel blaster receiver. The bearing holes are actually machined to be a perfect fit for the SHS bushes that we have, and that's actually a tight fit that I'm going to have to punch out now because I don't particularly want that in there. But yeah, so that's the I think the more common airsoft ones are a little bit like microns different, but different enough to make it difficult when you're building these blasters. The front of the gearbox here. Now, the Gen 9 T-piece is not a fit in there. It's the hole's too small to fit the Gen 9 T-piece, which I find a little bit annoying, marginally annoying. Like, I guess if you're going for a V2 style box, then you'd make it fit with the V2 style T-pieces, which makes sense. I've got a Fighting Bro T-piece here. Incidentally, the only good thing that Fighting Bro make, and it is a really easy, nice fit for the front of that gearbox. It would have been nice I think, if the Gen 9 T-piece fit. But I guess, yeah, you win some, you lose some. Tappet travel and all that sort of stuff becomes another interesting thing if you're running the Gen 9, because it's slightly different geometry again. But I like the Gen 9 style, and I like the Gen 9 T-pieces, so a little gripe, but I think the pluses of this gearbox definitely outweigh the minuses. My favourite feature here, the wire tuck. See this little piece just down here? When you run your wires down here, it actually, like, once you've taken some time to run these properly, it actually tucks down behind this little piece of aluminium. So when you're pushing your pinion gear past here, up when removing the motor and putting it in, it doesn't grab on that wire and tear it apart. That's probably my favorite feature. And a couple of other things I like. When you're shimming a gearbox, it's hard to see what you're doing with some of the gearboxes, you have to stick a little like a little screwdriver or a probe or something in there just to check the bevel gear and a few other. They've allowed clearance for you to actually get in there and check that here and here. This hole here as well is to allow you to release the anti-reverse catch. So if the spring's cocked back, you can just stick a little poker in there and release the latch yourself. So that's always nice, handy features. I do like. The rest of this, it looks great. What can I say? I don't have the time tonight to assemble this. Plus, I'm waiting on some aluminium cylinder head parts and some other bits and pieces so that I have a good setup to load into this. So you'll have to subscribe so that you can catch part 2 of my MK tactical build. But man, on first impressions, I'm impressed. I was prepared to not be impressed. I have got to admit, I am not a fan of V2 gearboxes. They're not designed for gel blasters. They're just designed for AEGs. And whenever people put V2 gearboxes in gel blasters, I always kind of cringe because they just don't work right. That's the long and the short of it. Without a lot of messing about on tiny little fine details, they're not right. Whereas this, maybe we got somewhere. Maybe we're going somewhere with this. I mean, I can not fault any of the machining. It's all top notch. It looks, again, you can't see this in the video because it's just not good enough quality to see, but like every little thing has a place. On the top of the receiver here, you can see this is designed so that it all registers in there and everything fits together perfectly and nicely. Again, it registers here. It's, yeah, everything looks good. Please subscribe, and I will get back to this gearbox a little bit later. Oh, I've almost missed, like, I order so much of so many parts from China that I'm genuinely surprised when items come with actual literature and like instructions on how to do things. And I do cop a lot of grief from the comments section when I do something that's obviously outlined in the instructions, like put a 7-volt battery in something that's meant to be 11 volts, because I clearly haven't read the instructions. I'm just so used to not getting instructions that I'm blown away to actually get like 3 pages of literature that go with this gearbox. There's a lot of good information in there, and they've obviously put a lot of thought into this gearbox. It is the only gel blaster gearbox made, CNC'd in Australia, for gel blasters. I mean, what more can I say? There is literally no competition. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching my video, and I promise you I will be getting back to this blaster, or this gearbox, later when I've got some more parts to put together into a blaster, and then we'll be able to do some real testing. Alright, catch up.